Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We didn't get into a great rhythm defensively last year. We played well in parts, and that was feast or famine.
You know, there's some things that are done differently, but overall, I mean, it's been the same teammates for the most part, and so it hasn't really felt that much different. But, yeah, there's, you know, the little things like wearing the same stuff and everything like that. And, I mean, that would be the biggest difference, attention to detail.
I have no idea who that second voice belonged to or what he was talking about.
That second voice belonged to Perry Orth.
That was who? Perry Orth, David got quarterback?
And he was talking about.
Hello.
Let's turn my microphone on.
Let's turn the boy on.
Here we go.
Okay, let's get back to normal. Corn is back.
Corn's back.
Let's get back
Corn's
to normal.
back. My microphone.
Come
what
back,
happened?
expected perfection, and what do I get?
That was Perry Orth, and he was talking about the 1-year anniversary of Steve Spurrier walking away.
Oh.
1 year today was that press conference. 1 year ago and 1 day when he announced it to the team, but he announced it to the world a year ago today.
Yeah, October 13th of last year. Even though the press conference was on a Tuesday last year, was it not?
Calendar
it was on a
changes
Tuesday.
every year.
I get that. That. So does this count? Anyway, all right, cool. That's cool. Yeah, he's still in the news around here, isn't he? Can't rid yourself of Steve Spurrier. Maybe now that it's a year removed, he's obviously bored. He's going to bars to watch football games. And the guy needs to find a life somewhere in football. It's not happening for him at Florida. What did he say? I'm a consultant, but I don't know who I'm consulting with or about.
Sad for him. Some of the comments at the end. At the beginning, it was funny. It was typical Spurrier. Went into a bar.
Saying he's just another lonely 70-year-old plus guy?
Like it.
Yeah.
Just when he's reminiscing about his teams and how he watches it on TV and he wonders, what am I doing up here?
Well, he shouldn't have let his pro.
Well, I think it bites him. I mean, he's still apologizing, saying hopefully it's okay up there. He doesn't feel good about how it ended. There's no question about that.
It never ends well. Will it end well for Dabo Swinney at Clemson one day? You think he'll go off on the shoulders of his players after another 25, 30 years? The field's been named after him. They've won 2 or 3 national championships. He's set all kind of coaching records. He's leaving as one of college football's most successful coaches. Will it end well?
Who has it ever ended well for?
Well, it's going to end well for Nick Saban. You know,
maybe he might roll out of there and take an NFL job and tick everybody off.
I don't think it. Not at his age. I think
Nick
he's done
Saban.
with that.
I think he's never
done
would
with
do
that.
something like
Not
that.
now. I don't think he would.
You don't know.
I mean, is it
could?
Now, here's one you have to watch. Bob Stoops at Oklahoma starting to slip a little bit. I mean, I know they were in the semifinals last year, but they got drilled. Now this year, and they're not going to make the playoffs this year. Are things starting to? Defenses at Oklahoma have not been real good here of late. Is it going to start to turn there? You see what's happening with Charlie Strong at Texas, though he hadn't been there very long. Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, how's that going to end? Is he going to get that thing turned around? He's got 1 year, I imagine. They're going to probably let him slide through this year, and then next year he'll have to get him back into the national spotlight, I would think.
I don't think they're going to give him another year.
Oh, you think he's done after this year?
Sounds like it.
Really? Wow. All right. Good to be back with you after a couple of days away for Yom Kippur. Body, mind, and soul now cleansed, so we get to start all over again.
Corrupting yourself again.
Get to start all over. Had to fast. You ever fasted? Have you ever gone 24 hours without food? Right. I've come up with a way, though, to offset. I discovered it this year, and that is about 12 hours before you have to start fasting, you just start eating.
Right.
And you just pile it in. You just keep eating as much as you can every hour.
So essentially what you do every day.
Well, but you really intensify it when you
add a little more.
When you know you can't eat for 24 hours and you take it right to the wire. You're supposed to stop eating at sundown, and you keep going west so the sun stays up a little bit longer and you get an extra hour until you finally just run out of daylight. Anyway, made it through it. Glad to be back. Hope you guys had a couple of good days. I was in Florence yesterday with family, and boy, the PD just got those of us in Columbia and West. If you haven't been down to the PD, and I'm going down to the beach tonight after the show, you got no clue of what what happened down there. They just got hammered. I feel we have a lot of listeners in the PD in Florence on our great stations down there, and feel for you folks. And in riding around Florence yesterday, just seeing the huge trees knocked over and the power lines and trees on top of houses and power being out. But the crews are working around the clock. They are doing everything they can to get power restored and streets cleared and all of that. So hopefully they'll be back to normal here relatively soon. But you go further east and north into Dillon County and Marion County and Horry County, and then you go south into Beaufort and Charleston counties and all there. Really, really rough going. So certainly our thoughts remain with you and hope that things get back to normal. And that's why we are here to give you a little time to forget about not having any power, not having anything in the refrigerator that's fresh, having a big old tree in your yard. We're here to take your mind off of it and talk about the sports world, NFL tonight, MLB tonight, a little high school football tonight in some areas, college weekend, Clemson, NC State, of course. Will it be a ball game? Last year up in Raleigh, 51 what was it, 51-46? Is that what it was? A very high-scoring game last year in Raleigh.
It wasn't quite that close. Clemson pulled away a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the final
I'll
was.
give it to you right
but
here. It was 56-41.
Mm-hmm.
I had my numbers right, just in the wrong order. 56-41. Deshaun Watson had a huge day, over 400 yards of total offense. Now, NC State is one of those programs about this time every year, they're pretenders. They look good on paper. The record looks okay, but they never transform into a contender. They just haven't. This is their chance against Clemson Saturday to announce themselves as a contender under Dave Duran for the first time. They've got a transfer quarterback who is a graduate student. He did it. He's a redshirt sophomore, but he graduated from Boise State. Now, he had a couple of years of injuries. He got a 6-year of eligibility from the NCAA. So he actually has 3 more years of eligibility, counting this year, if he wants to take it. Throwing the ball at a very high percentage, a lot of short stuff. He doesn't throw for a lot of yardage, but he throws for a very high percentage. But they do have some good players on their offense. The Samuels kid, who's kind of like an all-over-the-place offensive player, tight end, H-back, running back, wide receiver, scores a lot of touchdowns. Clemson has got to be concerned about him. The running back, they have a very good running back who's a veteran guy that had about 75 yards against the Tigers last year. Defensively, once again, statistically, among the best in the country. So on paper, you think maybe this is going to be a contest, but Clemson is favored by 17, and I'm taking the Tigers.
I'm taking the Tigers to win the game, but I'm going to go ahead and jump on those points.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points. Clemson's coming
17 and a half.
Yeah, that's a lot of points. And the bye week coming up, Florida State looming, Clemson has been rolling, and they could easily cover that spread. Easily.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't know what to believe about NC State. They do have some experience. They have a lot of starters back. They have some upperclassmen. So I went ahead and rode the points.
Well, yeah, I just think Clemson is clicking now. They kind of sleptwalked through the first couple of games, and people were questioning this and that.
I think that's unfair.
Really?
I mean, Auburn's a top 25 team now. If you look at the AP poll, they're 23 this week.
Mm-hmm.
They won that game against a really good defense. So I don't
Troy.
think we should say they sleptwalked through that game.
Troy?
They played poorly against Troy. And other than the Troy game, they haven't played that poorly.
But they should have put – I hear what you're saying about Auburn, and maybe Auburn has, emerged into a top 25 team. But, Clemson's offense was supposed to be all that and didn't show it against Auburn.
Well, it's first game of the year at Auburn.
Yep.
I'm not going to say they were world beaters, but I think this notion that they sleptwalked or didn't play well, or that should be a negative to go into Auburn and win at Jordan-Hare in the opener in a sold-out crowd on prime time.
Well, I don't disagree. It's a good win. I didn't say it was a good win. It didn't carry the style points that you expected for Clemson. We'll talk more about the Tigers, the Gamecock quarterback situation, and a bunch more in a moment. All right, it is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Jar March, Jared Martin Rogers behind bulletproof glass tonight. We can take some phone calls, 800-956-7266. Love to hear from you. 800-956-7266. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter, @SportsTalkSC. Got all kinds of email and Twitter stuff that we'll get to. Got a great show for you tonight. Mike Morgan. Normally we have the coach and the quarterback at the bottom of the hour. Both are out of town and out of touch. Coach Reedy has gone down to the Caribbean again. He and the wife like to travel down there for vacation, so that's where he is. And Coach Tannehill has gone big game hunting, or just gone hunting somewhere in the wilds of South Carolina, I would imagine. So they are not with us tonight. They'll be back with us tomorrow. How were the M&M boys last night? Were they pretty good?
Boy.
Huh?
They were.
Who got the better of it?
Big.
Who would you grade the winner last night?
It's one of those ones I'd almost have to call it a draw.
Mm-hmm.
They were really going at it, and it got to the point where it devolved to where they were just talking about the all-time series record.
Oh, yeah.
And then how many games they had actually played when the other team won. I just let them go for about 7 or 8 minutes there.
Well, now, when they played, I don't think Corey played but in one USC victory, right? And how many did Will play?
I'm not sure. Well, I think almost all of his were wins. That was when Tommy Bowden was there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it was good
that's
stuff.
An argument Corey's going to lose.
He's having a hard time. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a much tougher. I think the line that Will Merritt used, I think he said he should listen to the old rock and roll band, the Spin Doctors, because Corey, he's pulling out the Alabama card, anything he can. But yeah, Will's playing with house money right now. Every test that Clemson's had for the better part of 2 seasons, they passed with flying colors at this stage in the game.
Just seeing on ESPN as I look over your shoulder, they just played the Spurrier commercial with the Dr. Pepper man, who we interviewed at the national championship game last year.
Now, was that the one when he's in the hot tub, or the one when he's acting like he's calling the plays?
Acting like he's calling the plays, and then they're in the ice tub.
They're in the hot tub at the end. Yeah, not the ice tub.
Yeah. Really, I mean, well done, funny, typical Spurrier. So, he's making commercials. He's going to sports bars, and he's trying to probably playing a lot of golf.
The days of yesteryear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I feel bad for the guy.
All right, couple of quick things, and we'll get the calls, 800-956-7266. So Mike Morgan will be here. Morgan on the move at the bottom of the hour. We'll have that for you tonight. Going to hear from Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables as well, and Citadel football coach Brent Thompson at 7:30. Big pep rally going on with his team this evening. And then a big game on Saturday, Southern Conference leadership up for grabs between the Citadel and UT Chattanooga. What a year the Bulldogs are having. Looking forward to having him with us. They have settled the LSU-Florida issue. Today, the SEC announced the game for LSU for November 19th under terms of an agreement announced by Commissioner Greg Sankey. In addition, the presidents and chancellors have established the expectation for existing conference policy to be revised to better define the process for completing postponed or interrupted contests and to grant authority to the commissioner to determine the date and location of future games that may need to be rescheduled if the two involved institutions cannot mutually identify a date. The league said that if this game had not been rescheduled and played, neither team would have been eligible for the SEC championship game. LSU has also agreed to play in Gainesville in 2017. The game was originally scheduled to be played in Baton Rouge. LSU will return to Gainesville in 2018 as the normal schedule rotation resumes. Now, as a result, Presbyterian was supposed to play at Florida on the 19th, so obviously PC has been bumped. They'll be paid off, and they're looking for another game. LSU was supposed to play South Alabama in Baton Rouge. Same deal. LSU and Florida will exercise cancellation clauses for those respective games, so I imagine those two teams will get a lump sum of money. And so Presbyterian now has to find another game. It might be South Alabama, since those two now on the same date have available games. In the meantime, Presbyterian is playing tonight. The Blue Hose at home taking on Big South rival Monmouth. That game is going to kick off at 7 o'clock over at Presbyterian. And PC, a record of 1-4 overall, 0-1 in the league. And Monmouth comes in at 4-2 overall, 0-1 in the league. So you got a little in-state football going on tonight. And this game, if you want to watch it on television, keep us on your radio and turn on your I guess it'll be on one of the ESPN3 feeds. It's on the Big South Network, so you can watch it as well as listen to us. That's what I would suggest, even though we won't be talking about the game because we're not there and we can't see it really. You listen to us and watch the game. All right. I also want to mention to you, let's see, did that. USC tied in Hayden Hurst, one of 30 candidates named to the John Mackey midseason watch list. 6'5", 250, sophomore from Jacksonville, leads USC with 30 catches, 388 yards. This is a USC release. I haven't seen anything from Clemson. Is Jordan Leggett not on this list? Sure he is.
He has not been on that list as far as
let me see.
I could tell when I looked at it.
Yeah. No, nothing from Clemson. Yeah. He's not on that list.
He hasn't had a huge season.
Well, they haven't thrown to him a lot. Clemson injury report for Saturday. Questionable Adrian Baker, probable Austin Bryant, Jalen Williams, Hunter Renfro, Mike Williams, out Tremaine Ankrum. I think that's the only one who was ruled out for the game. Sprained ankle suffered the other night. And what else? Furman basketball, I want to mention the Paladins have moved their exhibition game on November 2nd to the Bon Secours Wellness Arena in downtown Greenville. They'll be playing Bob Jones, but this is being done so that the folks from the NCAA can come in and visit the facility, which is going to host the NCAA regional first and second round. And they want to come in with a game being played and sort of get a feel for the place once again. So that's coming up on November the 2nd. All right, to the phones we go. 800-956-7266 is the number here on Sports Talk. Open for whatever is on your mind tonight related to the sports world. Billy down in Myrtle Beach. How are you, my friends? How's everything in your neck of the beach?
Oh, there's some limbs and branches. I actually went to Hartsville to my parents' house, a big farm, and I should have stayed at my place at the beach because they got hit harder than we did here. And the beach where I'm at, exactly, everybody got hit hard. My prayers go out to everybody, and I'm glad to take it through because Sports Talk actually gives me a little smile. That's something to look forward to, Phil.
Well, good. Thank you.
From the 6-8. There you go. Hey, a couple quick comments. I'd like to get you and K-Mac's opinion on this as well. I think you might have been referring to Trey Samuels. North Carolina State has always recruited well. Now, they missed out on Dexter Lawrence, and there were Justin Foster is one that stands out. State was on him, but I think it was kind of a Tennessee, Georgia, the most recent recruit Clemson had, the linebacker, the big linebacker. But State's been an eyelash away from grabbing some really good talent from the state of North Carolina. With Dexter Lawrence is probably going to win the freshman All-American, I would assume, at Clemson. But Phil, I'm actually agreeing with you 110%, and I think I've heard K-Mac kind of allude to it. Clemson, I think, is kind of hitting their stride. If you look at the injury report, you're pretty much getting your starting defensive end back, Austin Bryant. Now, I think he'll rotate. I don't know exactly what they're going to do with Christian, but you've now starting to have a defensive line that's been productive, and then you're adding Austin to it, and then, of course, Adrian Baker, and then Hunter Renfro that's been reliable with all them blue-chip wide receivers that it's Clemson. You can almost say Hunter Renfro has been the most reliable. Now, Mike Williams is going to be a high draft pick, and Deion Kane and those guys, but you just got to love what Hunter's doing. But anyway, I'll make this quick comment, and I'll take your comments off the air. I think Clemson's hitting their stride, and the injury report, as you just kind of pointed out, looks good at this point. And bye week, it falls at a phenomenal time. I mean, I think they're going to cover the spread.
All right, I got to jump in here, Billy, because we're up against the break. We appreciate it. We'll be right back. We are back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Thursday edition from downtown Columbia, Main Street. We're on Main Street because Sports Talk is your sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina, from the coast to the mountains and all areas in between. What a beautiful day in the state of South Carolina. I know for half the state, digging out from the storm, maybe you can't see the beauty of the fall. One day you will. One day you'll be able to sit back and relax and soak it all in. For the rest of us, however, not impacted severely by the storm. It was indeed a beautiful day. We're glad to share it with you here in these hours between some sports. I want to remind you, whether you're a Gamecock or a Tiger or a fan of another team in our state, all of us, we can agree on one thing. That's Founders Federal Credit Union. They've got a convenient location on the USC campus at the Russell House. They've opened up a new location, Highway 93 in Clemson. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA. He's not federally insured. He's just Morgan on the move as he joins us here on Sports Talk. And I hope in Atlanta, where you reside, you had no wind damage from Matthew.
No, thankfully, nothing serious. Nothing serious at all, other than it just cooled things off a little bit here. And I was out of town for much of it last week in Arkansas, and got back and no unpleasant surprises. So everything is rock solid here in A-Town.
Very good, very good. All right, let's jump right into it. SEC announcing this arrangement between LSU and Florida. Your take on it? Anybody get an edge on the other in this deal? I mean, Florida giving up a home game this year, but going to get 2 visits from LSU as payback in consecutive years.
Yeah, I tell you who loves the ruling more than anybody else, and that's Tennessee. They may not be in the hunt 2 years from now, 3 years from now, but they're certainly in prime position to win the Eastern Division this year. And in a lot of ways, Florida might have been the best obstacle for that, even though they lost the head-to-head. Tennessee's got Alabama this week. They've got other difficult games on the schedule, and who knows. But from that standpoint, Tennessee was awfully happy with it. I talked about this on a podcast we do weekly. We'll plug for JC and Morgan. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm amazed that
that's a $10 charge, by the way.
Yes, I'll check us in the mail or PayPal. I'm amazed in 2016 that we did not have something on the books where the commissioner has somewhat autonomous power to come in and resolve this. I mean, I know people are ripping Commissioner Sankey, some of which are saying, oh, well, clearly Mike Slive would have done something different. I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, you can't make 2 ADs do something they don't want to do if it's not in the rules that you have that kind of power. Now they do. Now that's going to change, and if nothing else good comes out of this debacle, it's that it will happen again, that there will be something on the books that says the commissioner can come in, and if 2 ADs are at a stalemate, which is basically what we had going into last weekend, well, fine. If you're gonna take your ball and go home, and you AD number 2 are gonna take your ball and go home, I'm gonna come in as the big boy commissioner, and I'm going to go ahead and settle this the way it should be settled. And I'm glad it got resolved. South Alabama's not a bad team. It kind of stinks for them. That could cost them a chance at a bowl game. And I hate having to reshuffle everything and Presbyterian and buy teams out. I know a lot of people just don't care about the smaller schools, but I don't like that either. But I wish this could have been resolved in a heck of a lot better way. That's for sure.
Well, it sounds like from a quote from Jeremy Foley, he makes it sound like, they tried to work with LSU, but got no help in return from his
SEC
standpoint.
said the same thing. SEC officials said they offered other alternatives that would have been maybe a little better for both teams, but LSU would have none of it. And it's a true home game for them. It won't be like South Carolina when they went there last year and they played the Gamecock fight song and they couldn't have recruits. This will be a regular LSU home game. They'll be hosting recruits.
No sympathy for Florida.
No, there won't be any help.
And the thing is, guys, I mean, I'm not being critical of LSU, because if you know how much financial problems that the city of Baton Rouge, that area as a whole, has had over the last few years, you understand the financial impact of losing a home game is detrimental. I'll never understand why you couldn't have played this game either on Sunday, such as Georgia and South Carolina played, or if for some reason, and to my knowledge this was not the case, Gainesville's 2 hours inland, but if for some reason Sunday was still too treacherous, and you could have played it on a Monday. LSU's got Southern Miss this Saturday, too badly in that one. This could have been done so much better. And again, hopefully we'll use this as a teaching moment where next time the commissioner will have something right there, Section 8, rule number 5-4. If you guys don't settle it like adults, I will go ahead and make sure it's done appropriately and timely and avoid any further damage.
Well, and this also shines a light on Ray Tanner. Now that you mentioned South Carolina and Georgia, people were clamoring for a decision from South Carolina as moving on. When are you playing? When are you playing? When are you playing? And I guess working with Greg McGarity and the folks at Georgia to some degree, but basically it was on his table decision on Sunday on a beautiful day, and it turned out great, except for the loss for South Carolina. They played in great weather. They had 75,000 plus there. Apparently nothing that I've seen related to any issues regarding traffic or security or anything like that. So he deserves a gold star.
It took him a while. I mean, and there were some back channel things happening there too. I think South Carolina didn't want to move it initially. Georgia was ready to do it, but
Well, they would have been more than happy to move it to Atlanta.
They wanted to play it on Saturday night, and they were holding out as long as they
the
could.
point
But they
is,
made the right decision in the end.
Did you want a football game that looked like NC State Notre Dame?
No, that's why
you didn't. So you couldn't play it on Saturday night because it would have been in a swamp. It would have been in a monsoon. It wasn't playable. So he made the right decision, and he handled it well. Apparently, unlike these two knuckleheads at LSU and Florida.
And that's a great point. And I think too that's where being a former head coach, you have an advantage in knowing how to handle these things, because you think of it in terms of what a head coach would want, what a head coach would not want, what a head coach is willing to compromise on. And so when you have an AD that's been there, even if it's a different sport, I mean, we know weather is always a factor in the sport of baseball. And there's always situations where you have to make tough calls. And do you play a game? Do you finish a series? Do you bump it up? How does it affect pitching? Is it more equitable to do it one way versus another? I think you have that advantage. Look, Jeremy Foley has been a Hall of Fame athletic director for a long, long time. However, it's amazing to me that a man who's about to retire in 4 weeks, give or take, that he would want this out there. Now, I don't know if we're ever going to know the true story of who was willing to budge on what. We know LSU was not willing to budge on the home game, and I understand that. Were they not willing to play it on Sunday? Were they not willing to play it on Monday?
Yeah.
That to me, all you have to do is look at Georgia, South Carolina, and Columbia was hit. At least most of the state of South Carolina, I should say, was hit harder than Gainesville, which again is 2 hours inland. And the people that I talked to in that area say that it certainly could have been played on Sunday, unlike a Daytona Beach or a Jacksonville or a St. Augustine, which got completely hammered. It's just, again, it's not 20/20 hindsight, because you've got it right there in front of you. The SEC has had to deal with this type of issue now the last few years. In the case of South Carolina, twice in 2 years. And both times, I think you could say that they got it right. And in this case, neither school or AD did get it right, to the point where it almost became embarrassing.
All right, hang on, Mike. We'll come back to you and talk a moment about the Braves and their new manager. Mike is brought to you by Play It Again Sports in Columbia. Chris Mosley and the gang there, they have everything you need in the way of golf equipment, fitness equipment, water sports, and more. Bauer Parkway in Harbison. And by Founders Federal Credit Union. Check out foundersfcu.com. Learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. A little bit more of Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk in a moment. Taylor wants to talk about the LSU Florida game. Tell me, hang on. Really? Damn it, everything in five? And we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network, brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. Final couple of minutes here with Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move. We asked him to put his baseball cap back on because that's what we originally hired him for. But the Braves were so bad that we had to just come up with something else. And probably will stick with this format for a couple of more years. But what do you think about what they did with their managerial job and the assistant coaches?
I thought you were just trying to show off my versatility. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let me say, first of all, because you guys have asked me about this question before, maybe a month ago was the last time I speculated on who the manager was going to be. And honestly, I didn't give Brian Snitker much of a chance. I'll give him a lot of credit, and I'll give the Braves credit to some respect. I'll give him credit for going 59-65 since taking over the job. And some people are saying, wait a minute, that's 6 games under 500. If you followed this team at all and you knew that how lackluster that lineup was, how devoid of talent that roster was, you'd realize that is a heck of an accomplishment to do that, to win 48% of the games with that team. And it looked like an expansion team at times this year. The other thing is that for those that say there is no loyalty in professional sports anymore, the Braves are pretty much putting that to bed, because this is a loyalty hire. And I don't mean that to Brian Snitker. I think he's earned it. And if you look at Snitker, he has been a guy that was drafted by the Braves back in the 70s, a guy that was a bullpen coach in the 80s, a third base coach in the 90s, eventually got promoted to the manager of the AAA team in Gwinnett. And I got a chance to kind of get to know him there, calling some of their television games. He is a baseball grinder. He is a guy that players love and respect. And don't underestimate Bobby Cox's influence on this, because Bobby still has a voice in that machine, whether it's Hart or Capello. They listen to Bobby. And Bobby, I'm sure, spoke glowingly about Brian Snitker. So it's not a sexy hire. But then again, how sexy was Joe Madden when the Rays hired him, and he might be the best manager in baseball. So it's not always the big name or a retread that's the right move.
Like, to me, a typical Braves move, back to a typical Braves move. This is what they used to do when they were rolling. They would promote from within. They would develop their own guys. They would keep their star players in place and their nucleus. So I like the move.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, it's got Braves written all over it. I think very few teams would do it. Now, one of the reasons why I was pretty cynical about the chances of this is because they already did a quote-unquote Braves move when they promoted Freddie Gonzalez. And then they fired him 4 years later. I didn't think they'd go back to that well. But I think what really won them over is the job that he did with this team late, and what he did in the second half of the season in particular, where the Braves were playing some actually quality baseball for a roster that had no business winning series against anybody in Major League Baseball. So, again, this will not send shockwaves or give everybody the warm and fuzzies going into a new ballpark. But for me, for my money, the one big difference between, say, college baseball and Major League Baseball, it's about the players so much more than it is the manager anyway. And the Braves' success is not going to be based on this hire. It's going to be based on what they do in free agency in the next few months.
All right. Real quick, if you can, please, this will settle K-Mac's nerves. Who do you like tonight in the Game 5 between the Nats and the Dodgers?
I'll tell you what, this is a great game. I know some people hate best of 5. For me, in the divisional series, it's fine. And when this pitching matchup feels like a Game 7 anyway, I will go ahead and I'm going to pick the Dodgers in a mild upset. Hill is not a bad pitcher. Scherzer, he's dominating, but he can be off. And if he's off, if he loses a little bit of control, I'll take the Dodgers in this one and say Dusty Baker falls to 0-9 in his last 9 elimination, or chances to actually advance to the next round.
I hope you're right, Mike. I really do. I don't feel as good as you do about it, and I love Hill's story. It's an amazing story. His whole story is incredible, but the fact that a year ago he was pitching in an independent league, and now he's pitching in the biggest game of the season for the Dodgers, that's something else. But I hope he gets it done.
Okay, Mikey. Thank you, man. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Morgan on the move with us here on Sports Talk. By the way, as a result of this move of the Florida game to LSU, senior day now for the Gators will come against South Carolina. So the guys that Will Muschamp recruited
Will we go out there and shake their hands too?
To Florida, he'll be able to wish them well on their senior day in person down there in Gainesville. Okay, to some recruiting now before we hit the top of the hour. Speaking of Muschamp, he has offered another player right in his backyard. You know, last year he went and got linebacker T.J. Brunson from Richland Northeast. Turned out to be a very fine pickup. Now he's gone to Spring Valley and offered junior linebacker Channing Tyndall, 6'2", 206. He was offered earlier in the week after attending the USC-Georgia game. Of course, he's been to a lot of South Carolina games in his life, and he was very excited to get the offer from South Carolina. Called it mind-blowing to have the opportunity. This year, 65 tackles and 4 sacks. He played defensive end last season, only 6 games because of a broken finger, and he had 7 sacks last season. He was also at USC for the East Carolina game. Despite being excited over the USC offer, not going to rush into a decision, going to take his time, look at the academics. Right now, he also has offers from Coastal Carolina and Mercer. Plus, he's drawing interest from Clemson, Purdue, Penn State, Georgia Tech, NC State, Colorado State, Eastern Michigan, and California. Defensive end Brad Johnson of Pendleton in the 2017 class has not been to a night game at USC. He was going to go to the Georgia game until it got moved to Sunday afternoon. He couldn't make that. So he's yet to get to a USC game this year, but he will, his coach tells us. Now, this Saturday, he's going to Knoxville for Alabama, Tennessee. He saw the Vols when they played Virginia Tech at Bristol. He's also been to Blacksburg to see the Hokies. Coach Paul Sutherland said that he definitely wants to get to a USC game. John Chavis of Texas A&M is showing a lot of strong interest now. He might take an official visit there. Mississippi State has also worked its way into a position for a possible official visit. Johnson had planned to set a visit to Notre Dame, but the contact from the Irish has dropped off since the firing of his recruiter and defensive coordinator, Brian Van Gorder, late last month. So according to his coach, Johnson is looking at USC, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, and Texas A&M for officials unless he makes his decision before he gets around to making the visits. Sutherland said USC's interest in recruiting effort have not changed since the offer was extended, that Will Muschamp has made Johnson a priority target. Johnson's playing well, the coach said, leads the team in tackles for loss and sacks. Clemson Wednesday offered 2018 defensive lineman Enos Hawkins, 6'3", 260 of Cincinnati.
What's his name?
Enos? I mean, now A-E-N-E-A-S? Enos?
I don't
Come
know.
on, K-Mac, get your mind out of the gutter, all right?
That's not a gutter.
That's locker room talk,
Oh,
okay?
that
Get
is.
your mind out of the locker room talk.
I apologize.
Some of the other offers for Mr. Hawkins, that's how I would pronounce it. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong,
so.
I
hope you're wrong for the kids' sake.
I apologize. Ohio State, Notre Dame, Florida State, Florida, Tennessee, and Penn State. He was at Clemson last spring, and he hopes to get to a game this season. He's been to Ohio State, and he might visit Notre Dame this weekend. 2018 Ben Lippen linebacker Kyle Wright is going to Notre Dame this weekend. He was at Clemson for the Louisville game, also drawing interest from USC. 2018 USC target athlete Diami Brown of Charlotte received an offer from Michigan on Wednesday. And in basketball, 6'7" Christian Brown of AC Flora was visited today by USC and by Tennessee. And there was a report on Tiger Illustrated that Lower Richland guard Clyde Trapp is going to take an unofficial visit to Clemson Saturday. Trapp, in the text messages with me, said he's not sure about that yet. He's undecided about his plans on Saturday. So from his standpoint, nothing is definite with that. Top of the hour. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We are back. Hour number 2, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Brent Venables coming up in this half hour. The Clemson defensive coordinator has had his team playing pretty good football for the most part. A little bit of a breakdown there late in the game against Troy in week number 2. Held up well against Auburn and pretty much everybody else on their schedule to this point. Tigers 6-0, trying to get to 7-0 once again as they play NC State Saturday at high noon. K-Mac will be there on Saturday, taking in the Clemson and NC State football game. Let's see what else we have coming up for you this Saturday. We've got on the state at Clemson. SC State goes to Howard. Furman will be at East Tennessee State. Boy, the Paladins need a win in the worst way. UT Chattanooga at the Citadel. More on that coming up at the bottom of the hour. Coastal Carolina at Gardner-Webb. You wonder how distracted the Chanticleers week. They were off last week, so that didn't affect any kind of a game last week, but just dealing with everything around their campus and being out of school for a long time. You wonder how sharp they will be. Just getting underway, Monmouth is playing at Presbyterian tonight. Big game at New Bern, traditional powerhouse Division II football team. Ken Sparks is still coaching there. He's got 331 wins. Amazing career. And they'll be at Newberry. Big game for the Wolves. Benedict at Clark, Atlanta. North Greenville at Tusculum. And Brevard at Limestone. Limestone's having a very interesting year. They've won all their road games. And I think they've lost 2 home games. So they're good on the road and not so good at home. Maybe they'll get a home win against Brevard coming up on Saturday. That is a slate around the state. Now, as far as looking at the games for our Pick'em Challenge this week, we've talked about NC State and Clemson. Need to update the standings here too. So let's do that. Right now, Kev Cohen has surged into the lead after a 3-2 week, 18-12. 17-13, Jarmart and Matt the Newsman, both 3-2 last week. Jarmart benefiting from that bogus touchdown by Georgia at the end of the game. That really shouldn't count, but it does. K-Mac, I take that back. Pro is 16-14, but if he doesn't get his picks into us here, he's on vacation.
What are you going to do, just give him all the favorites?
I'm going to have to give him an 0-5.
Wow.
Give him an 0-5.
Really?
I have, I'm like Sankey. I'm like Greg Sankey. I have to make a ruling here.
Care.
We have to give him an 0-5. But he's got time. He's got until noon on Saturday to get those picks in. Hopefully he will see the dozens of emails I've sent to him. K-Mac 2-3 last week. You're 14-16, and I am just behind after another 1-4 week. 4-1 one week, 1-4 last week. So I'm 12-18. But looking to turn things around. So right now, me and Jarmart are the only two taking Clemson and laying the points. Tennessee and Alabama. I like the points. I'm taking the points. I'm taking Tennessee in the 13. You're taking Tennessee. Matt's taking Tennessee. Jarmart and Kev Cohen are taking Alabama. Tennessee's just a weird team. Weird. They have scored, I think, 110 points this year, and they've allowed like 106. It's almost even, Steven, the points they've scored versus the points they've allowed. They should be better than this. I think Butch Jones is doing one of the great undercoaching jobs of the season based on the team he had coming back. 18 starters coming back, a quarterback picked as a preseason All-SEC quarterback, a great running back, those receivers. They should be killing people. In the games they're winning, they're just skirting by.
Well,
and then they end up
and they lost in overtime.
Yeah, but they were down. They were down 2 touchdowns with 2.5 minutes to go.
They were on the road, and they were an underdog in that game.
Yeah, they shouldn't be.
As long as you win,
they should be better.
Everybody wants you not only to win now, but you got to win by a lot. You got to blow.
Well, no,
out.
They didn't have to blow out Texas A&M, but they should have handled Appalachian State with ease. They should have handled who was the other one? Ohio, I think it was. They should have handled them with these. They struggled against these teams. That tells you something about your team. Ole Miss at Arkansas. Arkansas getting 7.5 at home. I'm taking the points. So are you. Jarmart's taking Ole Miss. So is Matt, and so is Kev Cohen. North Carolina at Miami. I don't know what to do here. How down is Miami going to be? North Carolina was embarrassed by Virginia Tech last week after beating Florida State the week before. What are you going to get? You just don't know what you're going to get. I think Miami is going to dig deep at home and recover. They're laying 7.5. I'm taking the Hurricanes laying the points. You're taking the Tar Heels. Jarmart's taking the Hurricanes. Matt's taking the Tar Heels, and Kev Cohen is taking the Hurricanes. Ohio State at Wisconsin. Wisconsin getting 10 at home. That's a lot of points in this game at home. I got to take the home points. Home dog taking the 10. You're taking Wisconsin. Everybody else is taking Ohio State. And there we go. We see who is right and who is wrong as these games are played out on Saturday. Should be a great Saturday in the fall for college football. By the way, need to mention this on the show. I got a Facebook. I don't usually go on Facebook, but when I get a message from somebody, I go and check it. Got a message from a person who took me to task for my comments when Matthew was heading towards the coast, and I made the comment that sure hope it misses South Carolina and hits North Carolina,
Yeah.
And this person took me to task, like, hey, see what you wish for this, and now you see what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I wrote back to that person, I'm like, look, it was tongue in cheek. I don't wish for any state to get hit by a natural disaster.
But you said that.
But I said it tongue in cheek. I didn't say it as if, boy, I sure hope that destroys the state of North Carolina. I just said
there are certain things you don't say on the cusp of a natural disaster.
Well, I mean,
realize that probably wasn't the best time to make
that joke. You took me seriously?
I didn't take you seriously, but I could see how somebody would find no humor in something like that when a natural disaster is coming down and potentially going to hit the states, and it does, and there's death and destruction to follow.
North
and you're
Carolina,
making jokes, so I hope it hits you.
That wasn't a joke. I didn't say it was a joke. I just said it was tongue in cheek.
Well, what is the difference between tongue in cheek and a
joke?
joke?
Is when you make a joke trying to make somebody laugh. Tongue in cheek is more of a sarcasm, and you say something that on the surface
I think
might
you should
look
apologize.
like it's serious. Well, I told the lady, I think it was a lady, and I think I wrote her back and said I don't think I said I apologize. I think I said it was tongue in cheek.
Of course not. Why apologize when you mess up?
And I said,
why actually hold yourself accountable and say
it was tongue in cheek? I did not sincerely mean that I hope the hurricane destroyed the state of North Carolina and spared South Carolina. I think well, I don't even remember my exact words. I said, hey, miss us and hit them.
If there was a tornado coming and I said, Cord, I hope it misses my house and hits yours, and it hits you, and I'm like, oh.
But if you said,
hey, I was tongue in cheek, man. I'm really sorry. Oh, what all? You lost your dog.
Well,
I'm sorry, dude.
I'm a little bit hurt. I'm the type of person that would wish that on a neighboring state.
You said it on the air.
It was tongue in cheek. Tongue stuffed into left cheek.
That doesn't make it okay. Doesn't make it okay.
It does. It's a tongue-in-cheek show.
I'll play the Pence to the Trump. I'd like to apologize for Phil. He didn't mean that, and he asked for your forgiveness.
No, I don't seek forgiveness.
And he's playing a good Trump here. It's like
I'm just saying it was tongue-in-cheek.
Find it in your hearts, folks.
And
he didn't know what he was saying.
I did not.
Joking about
and also,
disasters.
of course, to believe that I have the power through a wish to make something happen. I mean, she was also saying implying that because I wished it had happened, there's a lot of things that I wish would happen that don't happen. And I wasn't wishing that would happen, but even if I had wished it would happen, it happened not because I wished it. Okay. It happened because it happened. So anyway, tongue in cheek, learn the difference between a direct, serious comment and one that's not. Thank you very much. We'll hit a break and we'll be back. tongue in cheek, tongue in cheek. Back with you here, South Carolina Radio Network. Not tongue in cheek about this message from your local Touchstone Energy Cooperative. Hurricane Matthew has disrupted many lives across the state. If you were one of their valued members and you've had your power knocked out by the storm, they want you to know that their repair crews are hard at work to restore service to every one of their co-op members. They want to thank you for supporting the crews during this difficult time, and they appreciate your patience. They will have your lights back on as soon as possible. This message is brought to you by your local Touchstone Energy Cooperative. 800-956-7266. A couple of Brents coming up. Brent Venables of Clemson, Brent Thompson from the Citadel coming up here in a little bit. Speaking of no tongue in cheek, we've had more calls into our What the phone line. And that phone number, by the way, if you don't know it by heart, as I don't, 803-509-2705. Let's see how I can remember this. Okay, 803 I got. 509-50, the decade I'm about to depart. So I can remember that, 50. And then 9, Bill Elliott. I always tie 9 into Bill Elliott. And then 27. Oh, 27. Yeah, I don't like that. You know who's number 27? Wasn't Priester at Clemson 27? Raymond Priester? Wasn't he 27?
Don't remember.
I think he might be. And then 05. 05, that's Brett Bodine. He was 5 for a while. No, Jeff Bodine. That's hard to remember. 803-509-2705. Hard for me, maybe not for you. Put it in your phone, in your smartphone. Give it one of those direct dial numbers on your phone. Take you right to it. 803-509-2705. The purpose of this line is a twofold. Number, you want to say something on the air. You don't want to wait on the show. Don't want to pay the price. Be patient. This is a way you get through without delay. It's available 24/7, so it's convenient for you. If 6 to 8's not working for you to call in during the night or morning or afternoon, you can call in. Weekends, it works weekends as well. It never takes the weekend off. You're at a ball game, been to a ball game, seen a ball game, got something you want to say, you want it on the air. Now, you can go locker room on us, but we'll clean it up. All right, so, spare us the extra work and just keep it clean.
No, you don't have to keep it clean.
Yes, you do.
It's not, first of all,
so wait a minute, you're telling me
it's not extra work for us, it's extra work for Jared.
But you're telling me you're encouraging people to use profanity? Come on, K-Mac. Are you serious?
Okay.
Or are you tongue in cheek?
The guy's up in arms.
Or are you tongue in cheek?
No, I don't have any problem with profanity. We'll clean it up.
See, I have a real problem with profanity. Profanity shows one's lack of vocabulary. You have to, when you have to rely on, profanity, it means you're short on your vocabulary.
Well, you don't have to use profanity, but you can get as emotional as you want.
Emotion is one thing. Okay. I'm fine with passion and emotion. Okay.
Don't make any jokes about natural disasters. They won't make it on the air, though.
Oh my gosh, Yankees, what the was that?
Okay.
Yeah, this guy never uses any profanity.
Got to watch what I say around this place.
Yep.
That wasn't my voice, was it? That was my voice?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our first
corn tapes. Plenty more where that
How many
came
years
from.
ago was that? 25, 30 years ago I said that? Okay, our first caller on the What the phone line has a comment apparently about Will Merritt from last night's M&M Boys.
For goodness sakes, next week before the M&M Boys come on, y'all get Will Merritt some kind of nerve pill or Valium or something. I was worried there at the end of the show segment last night he was going to have a heart attack or something. And tell old Corey Miller to go light on him, okay? Thank you.
What was Will out of control last night?
No, I think they
what
were
was
both
he what was he
equally-
emotional about? What was he defending? What was he
Corey comes at him pretty hard.
Yeah.
And he comes back at Corey pretty hard.
But there's Corey really doesn't have a leg to stand on with Clemson. I mean, my
Corey
goodness.
doesn't need a leg to stand on.
Of course, keep in mind, guy, he's a Gamecock at heart, but he's got a son in Alabama.
Who had a sack last week.
Did he really?
Mm-hmm.
So he's playing. They said he couldn't play at South Carolina, never could play that hybrid position at South Carolina, that defensive end.
Might have been a buck for the
Right.
Gamecocks. Yeah.
All right. A caller. Next caller has some love for Will Muschamp here.
I think the world of Will Muschamp, and I'm glad he's coaching South Carolina. I'm a Clemson fan.
I'm not sure that's love or that's backdoor love, isn't it? Hey, you know what? I said this in speaking to groups before the season, and I still believe it. I think Muschamp is going to win at South Carolina. I think he is, laying that foundation, doing all the hard, gritty work right now, taking his lumps, but recruiting as hard as he can. His staff's recruiting as hard as they can. And the proof will be in the pudding as they bring in new players. They just got to get better players. I think their schemes are fine. I think they know what they're doing. And I think they're going to coach their tails off with them. But the thing I like most about Muschamp is I think if he is successful at South Carolina, I think you might have a guy here for the long haul, which is something, South Carolina's had coaches here for the long haul. Spurrier was there over 10 years. Paul Dietzel was there, 9 years or so. And Spurrier was successful. He just ended poorly, but he was successful. Carolina history, so you can't take that away from him. But it's still like he was Florida's guy. He even though he was Steve Spurrier 10 years at South Carolina and all that, and you saw how quickly he retreated to Florida and to Gainesville after leaving South Carolina. I think Will Muschamp will become a piece of the fabric of the USC community if things go well and he wins. I think he will raise his kids here. I think he'll be USC's Dabo Swinney.
Ooh.
If he can become successful. I think he will be
Get him through the second half of the season first.
Well, if he becomes successful, I mean, it's all on him to be successful. Okay, our final one is about Clemson versus South Carolina. Okay, what do we have?
Y'all happy? Gamecock fans, you know what makes me happy? If Dabo Swinney just changed his allegiance and went to the Gamecocks, that would really make y'all happy, wouldn't it? Y'all really want Dabo. Just tell the truth. Y'all don't want Muschamp, whatever the hell he is. Go with Dabo. But guess what? You ain't getting him. So, good luck, Gamecock fans. Y'all suck so bad. Oh, Clemson, go Tigers! Bye now.
Dabo Swinney has certainly outperformed what people thought at the beginning when he took over at Clemson. Who could have imagined? Nobody could have. I mean, you cannot sit here and tell me if you're a Clemson fan. If I had 100 Clemson fans in our studio, I bet you 100 of them, if they were being honest, would say they never expected this under Dabo when he took over as an interim coach. You couldn't have foreseen it.
Well, some of them probably would.
No, I don't. If you were honest, there was nothing to base it on. He had been wide receiver coach and recruiting coordinator. Okay, he'd never been a head coach at any level.
At what point do you think they started believing in him? After he beat South Carolina that interim year? If he loses that game, if Steve Spurrier wins that game in Death Valley, Dabo Swinney's not the coach of Clemson. That's what got Clemson to a bowl game. Yes, that was when Terry Phillips decided to keep him on board. They went to a bowl game. Played Nebraska.
I think probably what got it going for him was after they beat. I'm gonna make sure I got my years right here. After they beat Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, they had lost to West Virginia badly, right? That previous year, they turn around. They have another 10-win season. They lost to South Carolina, but they still went and won the ACC championship. Then they went and beat Oklahoma badly in the Orange Bowl. And I think that's probably when you had to take a look at him and say, this thing's starting to come together and look pretty solid. And then I think the next year is when he ended the streak to South Carolina, if my years are right. I think it was that next year when they broke the 5-year losing streak to South Carolina. And, they don't know what losing is like. They've lost one game in the last 2 seasons, and that was in the national championship game. We'll be back in a moment. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on a Thursday night. Phil Kornblutz along with Kevin McCrary. And coming up, we're going to hear from Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables as the Tigers are getting ready for their showdown with NC State in the Valley, 12 o'clock on Saturday. In just a moment, Brent Thompson, head coach at the Citadel, talking about your showdowns. Big matchup against UT Chattanooga at Johnson Haygood Stadium, 3 o'clock on Saturday. I want to remind you from the South Carolina Forestry Commission, insects and diseases can be moved hundreds of miles in firewood and threaten our forests. Favorite campsites, neighborhoods, state, and national parks help protect the trees you love by purchasing firewood at or near where you're going to burn it. More information, visit don'tmovefirewood.org. All right, let's welcome in Citadel coach Brent Thompson. What a year the Bulldogs are having at this point, ranked as high as number 8 nationally, undefeated at this point in the season, 5-0, and looking to establish themselves as the clear-cut leader in the Southern Conference. Coach, how are you? Good to have you with us.
Phil, I'm doing great. How are you doing tonight, sir?
We're good. We're good. First of all, how are things around your campus, around your football operations? How much were you disrupted by the hurricane?
Well, I thought that we ended up being on probably the good side of everything. We took a walk around campus. So when we got back, we were able to get back to campus on Sunday after spending 4 days up there in up north of Greenville there in Tigerville. And when we got back, we noticed, we just had a few trees down, a couple limbs down, but other than ended up probably on the good side of things down here.
Did you have to rearrange any practice time, anything along those lines, anything disrupted from that standpoint?
Well, aside from the game being moved last week, and then, we moved from a Saturday to a Thursday, and then, of course, changing the venue all the way back up to North Greenville and getting that game in.
Yeah.
Being displaced for Friday and Saturday. But when we returned Sunday, I cut the guys loose. We've been together for 5 straight days, and we were about good to probably go and take care of the rest of your lives there. And we got back together on Monday. We had no school on Monday, but we were able to get a good solid practice in on Monday and kind of get out ahead of UTC. So I thought it was probably the best of all scenarios where we were able to get a few plays ahead, get about a day ahead of where we would normally be at this time against them. So, all things being said, it ended up working out okay for us, considering the way it could have been.
How is Johnson Haygood?
I was just over there today, and it's lined up. The east stands look great. I thought the rain probably helped it out a little bit. It looks like it's been in the best shape, and we hadn't played on it, but once in the past 9, the 9 games that we played on it once. So I think it's in great shape. Okay,
now I'm not sure the direction. So the east stands, is that for the visitors or for the home? The one that was the side that's been being worked on.
Yeah.
Which side are you talking about?
Yeah, that's the side that's being worked on. We've got all the work done on it. We're going to have a few thousand seats open over there. It looks great.
Mm-hmm.
It's all been taken care of. There's new railings up over there. The turf is in great shape, and the homestand, of course, is in great shape as well. So we're excited. We had a little bit of a pep rally here on campus, and I know the Corps Cadets is excited, and I think we're going to have a great turnout for this game.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I knew you had a pep rally before you joined us. Tell us about how that went. How excited are people about what you're doing right now?
Well, I said, the last time that we've had a matchup like this has been about 24 years when Marshall and Youngstown State came to Johnson and Haygood. So it's something that doesn't happen on the campus of the Citadel very often, and the Corps was excited to be able to cheer on us and to support us. And I know our players are excited to play in front of the home fans for a change. It's been so long. That was probably their biggest disappointment of not being able to play at home last week was not being able to play in front of their parents and their fans and their alumni and the Corps Cadets.
Yeah, for sure. You guys are doing what you do. You lead FCS in rushing, so you're getting it done offensively. You haven't allowed a sack all season long. You are a triple option team. You don't throw it all that much, but, accidentally you're going to fall into a sack from time to time, but you haven't allowed one yet. Your defense has been very sound as well so far this year. What do you just think of the overall performance of your team to this point?
Well, I thought we've got a great team performance. We've had the offense has played well at times. The defense has played well at times. We've played together well in certain times, especially in the Western Carolina game. And then when we needed a spark, our special teams has given us great field position. The punt return team's done a great job for us. And we got a touchdown, a much-needed touchdown in the Gardner-Webb game. So I thought overall, I think we're playing great team football. We're going to have to put them all together, though. We're all going to have to be prepared to play all three phases together this week because it's a very good team we've got coming into town.
Yeah, Chattanooga, once again, they have established themselves as a FCS power. And, of course, they had the great quarterback, the son of the coach there for several years, and he was outstanding. I guess they've successfully replaced him because they continue to click on offense.
Yeah, they did a good job, and I think they did it the right way. Is they had Benefield played for him last year, played a little bit of a hybrid running back, wide receiver, pitch it to him, throw the ball downfield. We also knew that he was the backup quarterback, so he got plenty of game experience, and they used his talents as well as Huseman's talents to win a lot of football games last year. And he stepped right into the role, and I think he's maybe just a little bit – they do a little bit more passing with him. He's got two outstanding wide receivers. He's a little bit faster than Huseman, maybe not quite as powerful of a runner as Huseman is, but they rely on Derek Crane to kind of do all that kind of work for him. So it's a very good offensive football team and a defensive football team there. We've got our hands full with this unit.
Well, I mean, look – these are the kind of games you expect to play, right? As you hit mid-year, you want to be in these kind of games against the best teams in your conference and have them mean something. And I mean, this game means a heck of a lot. They're 4-0 in the league. You're 3-0. So the winner, will be standing there Saturday night as the team at the top of the mountain in the SoCon.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what we've talked about. We knew that we could get to this point. But we had to beat a good Mercer team. We had to beat a good Western Carolina team. We had to beat a pretty good Gardner-Webb team just to get to this point. But we knew if we got there, this was going to be a big game because I knew Chattanooga was a good team and they were going to probably win their game. So to have two undefeated teams, two top 10 teams in Charleston, in the middle of October, I don't know that it gets any better than that. It doesn't get any better than that further.
So as you look at their film and you know what your team can do, how were they against the triple option? Do you see some areas in their defense you can attack?
You do. We looked at last year's film, and I thought we did a pretty good job last year of attacking their defense. We made a couple of mistakes. We didn't convert a fourth down in the first half, and we turned the ball over inside the 15-yard line going in on the first drive. So, if we can eliminate those kind of mistakes, stay within our game plan, keep their offense off the field because they're a very powerful offense, and just continue to get first down and kind of play our game and make it a little bit more of a game in the first half than we have the last 2 years. I think we'll have a chance in this one.
Well, they're averaging 42 points per game, so I would imagine some long time-consuming drives leading to points is kind of what you're hoping for on Saturday.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. In order to do that, we've got to obviously take care of the football, stay off the penalties, and continue to just churn out first downs, which that's what we're built to do. So if we could do that, it'll fit right into our game plan.
Top two offenses in the league. You're at 454 yards a game. They're at 445. So it's going to be a test for both defenses. What kind of crowd are you guys looking for? Are they planning on selling out Johnson Haygood, filling it up?
I know we're going to fill it up. I don't know if we're going to sell it out, but I know they're probably not going to turn anybody away because it's going to be exciting out there, and we're going to need every single one of them.
Yeah, 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Weather should be just great. Getting to the stadium in terms of the roads and all that, everything good as far as you know?
Yes, sir. Everything's been cleared up. It's been great around here. We've had no problem maneuvering around, so we don't anticipate any problems. Okay.
Coach, as always, we appreciate it. Good luck to you Saturday. We'll talk to you soon.
Phil, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, Brent Thompson. He's loving it right now. First time as a head coach. He's yet to taste defeat. You got to like that. And
going.
Yeah, they're loving it. And, of course, he's the guy who, even though Mike Houston was the head coach, Mike was more the defensive guy, and Brent was the architect of their triple option offense at Lenore Ryan and Citadel. So it was an easy transition from that standpoint when Coach Houston left. All right, good luck to the Bulldogs on Saturday. We'll be right back.
we didn't get into a great rhythm defensively last year, we played well in parts, and it was feast or famine. And in the kicking game, we didn't help ourselves. I think we gave up a touchdown and created.
All right, Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables right around the corner. Before we get to that, let's give you tonight's high school football report. A service of Farm Bureau Insurance with new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau Insurance. You could be saving a whole lot of money, even if you've received a quote before. Rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local insurance agent. Let's update some stats courtesy of the high school sports report. Of course, stats are all kind of skewed now because some teams haven't played for at least 1 week now, maybe a couple of weeks for some of them. But anyway, here's what we've got reported in. Ryan Smith of the Anderson Cavaliers, that's home 1,327 yards, 17 touchdowns. Michael Dukes of First Baptist, 1,229 yards, 20 touchdowns. Trayvon Prey of Bethesda Academy, 1,132 yards and 12 touchdowns. Top of the list there. Passing, Corey Fields of Baptist Hill, 2,197 yards and 24 touchdowns. Gage Maloney, Mr. Football finalist of Northwestern, 2,024 yards, 19 touchdowns. Dre Robinson of Rock Hill, 1,985 yards, 13 touchdowns. And Kirk Rigel of Nation Ford, 1,906 yards and 21 touchdowns. Receiving, Chance Pride of Eastside, 58 catches, 804 yards, 7 touchdowns. Chance Morris, Jefferson Davis, 38 catches, 752 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Dennis Smith, highly regarded junior from Gaffney, 39 catches, 699 yards, and 7 touchdowns. High school report tonight brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. What are you smiling about? Jarmart's just sitting back in the dark smiling. He's kind of got that clown look, that the clown, the scary clowns that have been sighting all over the country.
That was actually you making that sound?
Was that you?
I thought that was some kind of bit.
I mean, you're sitting there. All I see is dark, and then I just see you.
I'm a clown.
Okay, this is turning weird.
I used to scare my brother doing that.
Yeah,
pretending to be a clown.
You've successfully scared me.
Demir Bird's looking for a job. The former Gamecock receiver was waived today by the Panthers. We'll get you a PC update here in a moment, but let's hear from Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables. Tigers playing some great defense. Got a pretty good offensive team coming to Death Valley on Saturday. What he wants to see is the continued improvements and the continued flow of the defense, something that he has been pleased with here in recent games. He wants to see that Saturday.
We didn't get into a great rhythm defensively last year, we played well in parts, and it was feast or famine. And in the kicking game, we didn't help ourselves. I think we gave up a touchdown and created 2 very short fields and kickoff returns. And then we gave up some big plays. The 60-yarder there in the third quarter is one that really allowed them to get back in. We're up by 20 with 10 minutes to go in the game, and just jacked around, gave up another long kickoff return, and they converted a fourth down, a 4th and long, in great coverage, and quarterbacks just. I think they made some plays. Again, I think they put 34 on us a year ago, and 2 short fields, and again we give up a few big plays, and you got a ball game. So I just don't think we got into a great rhythm now. And the year before that we were. So it's really pretty simple.
Seems like nobody in the media talks about Matt Days, the running back. When you look at his numbers and production he's had, he stacks up with anybody.
Yeah, terrific player. And losing him, they lost him, I believe, after our game a year ago, and that was a big loss for them. He's got great vision, very explosive, a patient runner, plays his pads well. A great compliment for their system. Very good player.
You mentioned back in August that it takes a few games for you to really figure out your defense and your personnel. Do you feel like you're where you want to be with that?
Better than what we were. Obviously, just got more evidence, so to speak, and more data to look at, and still trying to develop some guys as well at all 3 levels. And I think we need to do that forward to continue to improve us and develop a little bit more diversity in what we're doing and a little bit more depth, but feel better and again more certain about where we're at.
Outside of just who the quarterback is, differeces, similarities schematically between.
I think they're using their receivers more. I think they were blockers systematically a year ago, and I think the receivers, there's more depth there. There's more playmakers. They're utilizing them more. They're attacking you more vertically. They're making those plays. They're long, big. Guys got some speed, and they're deeper there. And you can see there's been an emphasis. I think it's at the end of the day, it's still Dave Doran's offense. He's a defensive guy, but you see his fingerprints all over it. You've had some different coaches that have been there, and now they're gone. But there's still a lot of things that they do. That it looks like there are things that he believes in philosophically, and but they are have a little bit more spread concepts that they're using and combined with some of the other things that they've always done. And again, I think that they're older, wiser, more mature, and I think more confident in their skill players.
All right, Brent Venables. Yeah, Ryan Finley's been very good at quarterback for NC State since transferring in from Boise, where his career was interrupted by injuries, and then of course they went through the change, and the offensive coordinator at Boise was hired by NC State, so he came to Raleigh and has obviously just fit right in with what they're now doing offensively there with the Wolfpack. And 6'4", 200. So far this year, he is completing about 66% of his passes. I take that back. I'm sorry. Let's back that up. He's completing almost 70% of his passes. I was looking at Boise State. 695, almost 70%. He's not thrown an interception yet. 9 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. And he's thrown for 1,045 yards. So pretty good, and a pretty good receiving core to throw to as well. So this will be a decent test for Clemson's defense. He's a big guy. He doesn't run all that much. So, perhaps he's a guy that you can find in the pocket and you get some pressure on him and run up some sacks. I imagine that is what they're hoping for. I'm just looking at some of their players. Here's a player, a freshman receiver, Kelvin Harmon, one-time USC commitment, playing for NC State, and he's got 7 catches on the year. So that was a guy who was once committed to South Carolina. Remember him? Came back out of New Jersey, Kelvin Harmon?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Don't. No. You should. You should have. Your kid from Pulliam is playing backup cornerback. What's his name? From Pulliam. Freddie Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing second-team corner. He's played in 5 games this year. Not take that back. Yeah, I guess he's played in 5 games this year. He's had a couple of tackles. Thaddeus Moss is a tight end there. You know who he is, K-Mac. It's Randy Moss's son.
Good for
playing
him.
Tight end and fullback. He's got 2, 3, 4. He's got 5 catches this year. So there you go. A little bit of inside information on NC State. K-Mac, any final thoughts about the Dodgers and the Nationals?
I really hope the Dodgers win. Really hope they win.
That they lose. I really hope this is true from the heart. No tongue-in-cheek. I'm very serious about this. Anybody want to write me about this? This is serious. I really hope the Dodgers lose. That's from my heart.
Thank you, Phil.
Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow night. That would do. Huh? Yeah, let's knock out recruiting real quick. All right, here we go. Anus. Well, how would you pronounce it? Aeneas. Anus? I mean, what's the cornerback who played for the Cardinals? Really good. His name was Anus, right?
No, it was like
Enos?
No, it wasn't anus. It was not anus. It was not named after a butthole. Hey, let's name our kid Anus. Because that's what I wanted to do that night. And you said no, and now we ended up with him.
You think it's Aeneas? Is that the guy's name played in the NFL?
That would make sense. Aeneas.
Aeneas.
Yes, it's not anus.
Aeneas.
It's got to be Aeneas. I'd call him Aeneas. Aeneas.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Aeneas. We'll go with Aeneas.
I'd go with Aeneas over anus. I don't know.
I wasn't even paying attention when I said that. I just said anus. Aeneas. Aeneas? Anus? All right, here we go. You rolling? All right. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-dum-bum. Okay, let's see here. All right, coming down in 3.